I think it becomes more difficult to do so when you don't get married for the right reason.
Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of Dinner Rolls and Relationship Convo with myself, Angie, and my co-host.
Hello, everybody. This is Elder Nathan Rolle.
That's my husband, y'all. Super happy with him. I'm excited to be in this joint venture together. I'm glad you decided to join us for another season.
Oh, yeah.
So we are 2 episodes into season 2. So we are really excited about that. And today's topic we're going to be talking about is being faithful too hard. And this is a topic that I'm very passionate about because I don't teach couples and coaching sessions and all that stuff, or on the internet, YouTube, anywhere you see me. I will never tell somebody to stay through habitual cheating or habitual infidelity. I believe you can get through infidelity one time, but I feel like when it comes to doing it over and over again, which is habitual, that means this person wants acceptance. And I'm sure unless you're in an open relationship, you don't want to accept the fact that you're being cheated on. And so, for me, I feel like being faithful is not hard. Right. Because you have a choice to make. You either get married or you don't. So if you know you're not a faithful person, why even put yourself in the position to cheat? Now, if you want to be single and go out there and run through every man or woman you see, then go right ahead. Protect yourself, but go right ahead. But when you get married and you have a union like that, that's where I have a problem with. And that's where I think the disrespect to the sanctity, the purity of marriage, that's where, I get upset with, regardless of who you are.
Right. I think it becomes more difficult to do so when you don't get married for the right reasons. When you get married for the right reasons, like, I think about how my dad talked about my mother, and I think about how I talk about you. You get to that point where you think about this person that you're in a relationship with and the pain of the ramifications that come from infidelity. You never want to see your significant other going through that pain.
Right.
And that right there should override the pleasure of infidelity. Because pleasure, I always say, is a temporary thing. It's short. Yeah. It's short-lived. You're willing to give up a lifetime of joy, a lifetime of peace, a lifetime of happiness, content, for that moment of pleasure. Yeah. It's not worth it.
And I always say, listen, can you rebuild trust? Absolutely. But it's not a process you want to go down because it's a long and tedious process. It takes patience. And then, you can't be that in love to cheat on somebody multiple times. Right. So I know you can't be that in love to go through the process of being forgiven, right, or regaining that trust and rebuilding that trust back, because that is a process that is very strenuous mentally, physically, emotionally. Right. Because once you go down that road of infidelity and cheating, your partner, it may take them a while to want to have sex again. Right. That's why I say it's a physical process. So, you just have to be very careful. I always think that people who are constantly unfaithful, it's an internal issue. Right. Something has caused them to feel like they have to cheat in every relationship. Right. Every relationship you ain't been in has been bad. Right. You know what I'm saying? It can't be the other person all the time. So something internally is happening or has happened to you to where you have to step out.
Right. And I think a lot of people know going into a relationship that they don't have the ability to be faithful to this one person. They know going in that this is going to be a problem. If you think in the slightest bit that you cannot be faithful, then just don't get into it. It's not worth it at the end of the day. Yeah. Because once you're actually put into that position of temptation, if you already come into it weak, there's no way you're going to be able to stand. Right. It's like a boxer. Right. If I come into the fight thinking that it's a possibility that I can lose, like that I'm going to lose, then I'm going to. I've already defeated myself. Yeah. You got to go in knowing that you can win. You will win.
Right. Absolutely. I think faithfulness is something that is like we were talking about earlier, it's easier when you're with the right person.
Right.
When you're in the right relationship. And that's why it's so key to build your foundation, to make sure that you are going the longevity with the person that you were meant to go longevity with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and this is why I think infidelity happens, is because people are not taking the proper time to build their foundation, to make it sturdy, to build patience with one another and compassion with one another and all that good stuff. And then honestly, some people are just dirtbags. Right. It just is what it is. Some people are just scumbags. They like to cheat. They get joy out of cheating. And I was actually doing, in my divorce series, there's a statistic out there that people that have been married 20 to 30 years are more likely to commit infidelity. Wow. And their ages are 50 to 60.
Right. And
I feel like that always happens because in that time frame is because people aren't continuing to do the work in their relationship.
Right.
You know, they think, okay, so I've been married in this marriage for 20 years. Okay, we don't have to date no more. We could just sit around the house and do routine stuff and be okay with it. And that's not the case. You still, whether you've been married 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you still have to put effort into the relationship. You should still have the desire and willingness to date one another, to love on one another, hold my hand, touch me, rub my head, whatever you have to do. Whatever you have to do to make it work, do it.
Right.
Because the idle mind is not a good thing,
right.
You know?
I always say, I think building a marriage is like building a building that's never complete.
Yeah.
Every day you have to work on this building.
Right.
When you have builders come in to build a house, the best way for them to meet their deadlines is to do a little bit every day.
Right.
And marriage is the same way, but it's like building a building that's only completed when you die.
Yeah.
Every day takes work. Never get to the point where you feel like I'm done.
Right.
Like I know everything. And there's so many people that you get to that, like you just said, they get to that point of the 20, 30, 40 year mark where they feel like they know everything.
Right.
They have it down packed. They don't need to learn anything.
Right.
They don't have to learn. They don't have to watch a podcast or a YouTube video about marriage. I know everything. And those are the main ones that are unfaithful.
And honestly, too, being faithful also becomes too hard when you stop communicating with one another.
Right.
You know, I'm so big, and I can't harp on this enough, so big on checking in with your partner.
Right.
Just because you have been married, again, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, does not mean you should not have that conversation of, boo, because that's what I call them. Right. Boo, are you okay? Are we good?
Right.
Because I could be over here thinking that I'm just hot stuff and I'm the best wife in the world and I got it going on and I'm doing dotting every I and crossing every T. I could think that in my head, right? Because that's a lot of times what we tend to think about ourselves is, oh, we're checking every box.
Right.
But if I don't ask my partner, the person that I'm with, are you okay? Are we good? Right. It's really all in vain because I'm in a relationship with you. I'm partly here to make you happy. And vice versa. So what can I do? And then when you stop having that conversation with each other, boom, that's when it becomes difficult because now you're not communicating what you need and desire from the relationship. Right. So now person A is saying, not feeling this no more. Let me go get it from somebody else. Right. Communicate.
Right. And back to that 30 or 40 year statistic, it's like, I think people get to the point where they're getting their mind, they get content in their relationship to the point where they feel as if the other person won't leave them. Right. They feel as if they know this person will forgive them. Oh, well, this may be the first time I did this, but we've been together for 30 years. There's no way she's going to leave me and start over, this and that. So I might as well just go ahead and do it.
And I think that way too with younger people because men and women, they know how to test the waters. They know who's going to stay through the BS and who's not. They know who's going to tolerate and who's not going to tolerate. Who's going to be like, listen, you cheat on me one time, I'm out, and I mean that for real. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it works for younger couples and older couples as well. Right. You know, I just feel like for me personally, being faithful is not difficult when you're with the right person. When you're doing the work, when you're communicating, when you're identifying, listen, I'm lacking in this area right here. I need you to do a little bit more, or be a little bit more, and not in the instance where you kind of make them feel bad or put them down or something like that, but you're just letting them know that you just need something,
right.
you know.
Although I will say, I feel if it's not difficult, I feel if it's maybe more difficult for others to be faithful. There are certain temptations that, say, a celebrity will face that I won't have to face.
Right.
There are certain positions that a rich person will get into that I won't get into.
Right.
So for them, they're going to face temptations that I won't face. So for them, maybe it is more difficult. And say for a man, I think it might be more difficult for a man than for a woman, because it's the nature of a man to reproduce. That's in his nature. So if you're in a position where you may be in a long distance relationship, you may have a wife that's like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, not tonight type of wife, you know what I mean? But you have a constant urge, and you're not on the same level as far as like your sexual desires.
Right.
For that man, it might be more difficult than another man.
Right. Absolutely. And that's a whole nother conversation about turning somebody down. Even still, I feel like if your wife or husband, because it works both ways, turns you down, you know, that one night, or maybe it goes 2 nights in a row, that's still not your ticket to cheat. You know, that's still a conversation of, listen, you can't keep turning me down. You know, this is not healthy for our sexual relationship. Right. And that's why I always, you know, I have a class out now about connecting beyond sex.
Right.
Teaching you how to build a genuine connection beyond the physical, beyond the bedroom, because you have to be able to build beyond the bedroom in order for your relationship to stand and go long term. And that's where communication comes back. Right.
In. Like, if I'm doing something that you feel is wrong, communicate with me. Like, how if I have a problem with my wife and she keeps turning me down and I don't communicate with that, or I just go out and cheat, then that's my fault. Right. It's my fault that I cheated, and it's my fault that I didn't communicate and express the fact that I'm not happy with our sex life. I'm not happy with the way you're turning me down. You have to communicate, because if you communicate, then the other person can make the necessary correction. Right, right. And I think ultimately, I feel like faithfulness, your loyalty is the one of the number in the top 3 things that are most important, because, you know, your husband, your wife, they have to feel safe and secure with you, right, and protected and loved by you. And when you step out on somebody, all of that goes out the window. So now I feel like you don't love me. I feel like you don't respect me. I feel like you're not devoted to me. You're not protecting me, because now it's not just about physical protection. It's about the protection of feelings. Right. So now I'm insecure. Right. And you do a whole lot when you step out on your boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, or wife. And it plays in the person's head of, okay, did I do something wrong? Was it me? Right. You know, is it my body? Do I need a bigger butt? Do I need some bigger boobs? You know, right. It plays a huge role. So if you truly love somebody and you feel like you're not ready to get married, I mean, if you feel like you can't stop cheating, if you really love that person, you would not even enter into a marriage with them. Right. And like I say, on every podcast, it always goes back to the first ever podcast we did, talking about the foundation. Right. You cannot build anything off of a weak foundation. Your foundation has to be strong. Your foundation has to be love. Your foundation has to be Christ and God and church. And if you're equally yoked with somebody, and then you should be able to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses and work through and work around anything, really. But like you said, habitual infidelity is just, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable from a biblical standpoint. We say forgive, but at the end of the day, that was even in the Bible. That was like a way out of the marriage. The only way out of a marriage is infidelity. Infidelity and death is the only way out of a marriage. Right.
like I said, at some point, the Bible draws the line with that.
Right.
It's so funny that you brought that up because I just read that the other day. That wasn't the reason behind the show because this was set up a long time ago. But it's so interesting because I was reading that and it was like, wow, you know, because I'm like, if somebody came to me, a couple came to me and said, my husband or wife cheated one time, I'm going to work with you.
Right.
Let's talk about regaining trust. Let's talk about forgiveness and all that good stuff, gaining respect back, setting those boundaries. I'm going to work with you. But if you tell me it doesn't happen 2, 3, 4 times,
right.
Listen, I'll just be a friend and listen, but don't book no services for me because I'm not going to teach you or inspire you to get through that because it's just, to me, it's not okay. Just like abuse is not okay.
Right.
It's not hard being faithful to me.
Right. And I think another huge thing is to be with your best friend. Be with somebody you're pleased to dwell with. Like, me and my wife, we do everything together. If I needed something from Walmart right now, we'll go together. And that eliminates so many other temptations. So many other things that can happen is eliminated right there because we're always together.
Yeah.
And if we're not together, you know where I am.
Right.
Because I leave that line of communication open. There's no secrets. There's no privacy for me in a marriage.
Right.
Privacy, what's that? If you have kids or something, then you can be private about certain things. But how can you be private to yourself? And I say that meaning if you're one, if the twain become one flesh, then where is privacy supposed to come in?
Right.
In one flesh.
Right. That's a good teaching right there. But you know, and I know some people have this idea of, oh, that's too much. Right. But it's not. It's not. Like you said, one flesh is one flesh. It don't mean, you know, you can't be one flesh split down the middle. Of course, we're two separate individuals, but we are one in a holy union. We're one when it comes to making decisions together. And it's like you said, that's more of being best friends.
Right.
We don't go out with each other to keep tabs on there because there's a mutual strong trust that we have with one another, but it's more like, you know, I'm getting ready to go away for 10 days. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's more about respect, leaving, like you said, leaving the line of communication open and saying, I have nothing to hide. Here, you want to go through my phone? You want to go through my tablet? If you can remember the passwords, go right ahead. Get on the laptop, whatever the case may be. But you have to leave that open. Because then, if you don't, then it starts the fight of, well, there's something going on.
Right, exactly.
And you shouldn't even be in a relationship, too, where you feel like you have to have tabs on, to keep tabs on somebody, but it's about just leaving that line of communication open. Right.
Rarely do we look at like 360 and be like, okay, where is she at now? Like, it's just like, if I can't get in touch with her and I need her, then I may check and see where she is. You know, and make sure she's okay because I care about her. Not that I don't trust her, I care about her.
Or we're buying presents for one another. You don't want to know where each other is. No, but seriously, you have to leave it open. And like you said, going back to what you were saying about being best friends, that's key to stopping that. Because if you're just like, if I was out with in New Jersey, if I go out with Jamila, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're going out because we're friends. We enjoy each other's company. We're besties. It's fun. You know, we're not. It just is what it is. Right. And the same thing with your spouse. You're not going out. Oh, he going to Walmart, but is he really going to so-and-so? Right. Or is he really going to this place? Right. You know, you're going out because you really enjoy each other. Like, hey, let's go on this ride. You know, one of our things is you want to go on a quick trip run, you know? Because it's just enjoyment of seeing one another, just hanging out with each other. Like, I would hang out with one of my female best friends.
See, and that's what infidelity does to a relationship. It changes that.
Yes.
To where at one point you may not have looked at Life 360 to see where I'm at. If I cheated on you, then everything changes. It's like, okay, now I gotta check. Where are you really going?
Right.
Why don't you want me to come with you? Why are you being so secret? Why are you sleeping on top of your phone?
Right. Not on top of it. But, you know, it's all about being faithful. Your loyalty is the best thing that you can do for your relationship. Right. Being present, You know, asking, checking in with one another, making sure that you're good so you don't end up in this predicament. And we'll probably talk about that somewhere down in another episode. But for people that are going through a relationship where they are having a hard time with somebody being faithful, that's not something that you have to tolerate, because it's not hard to do when that person is, when you're truly the one. Right. It's not going to even be a thing. It's not even going to be an idea of, hey, let me go step out.
Right.
And then you'll know to set boundaries with the opposite sex. I'm satisfied with the boundaries that I have with the opposite sex. And I'm sure you are too, because you are more important than Joe Schmo.
Right.
Or me communicating with whoever.
Right.
You know, my responsibility to protect and love is not to them, it's to you. And I think that's where individuals go wrong. These younger people, my generation, millennials, go wrong in relationships. We're too busy out here trying to please so-and-so and the other so-and-so, when you should really be focusing on pleasing your partner. Right. And you also have to realize your partner can see things that you may not be able to see.
Right.
You know?
And this might sound crazy, but the conversation that if you feel like you have the urge to cheat, even communicate that with your partner. Mm-hmm. Because the conversation that, okay, we need to do this a little different because like I'm feeling things that I shouldn't be feeling is a lot better than the conversation of, oh, I did this.
Right.
You know, we can work through the feelings.
That gives them the opportunity to change.
But once the act is done, like if I feel like killing somebody, I'm not gonna go to jail for that. But if I already have killed somebody, that's when I can get in trouble. I can go to jail for that. So maybe if I talked to somebody when I had that feeling, I would have never got to the point where I did the act.
Right. I love that. And I feel like that's a good way to end the show with just that analogy right there. You have, communication is key to everything. It's the root of your relationship. Aside from Christ is obviously being number one, but communication is definitely second. Of just having that conversation is really, really simple just to talk about it.
Right.
And that's it. So you guys know I always love to end the show with quotes, and I have one here for you. It says, cheating is easy. Try something more challenging, like being faithful. So yes, be faithful. And like he said, if you have the urge, talk to your partner. Like he said, it's better to talk about that than to talk about you actually stepping out. So guys, we'll see you all next week on the podcast. Make sure you follow us at Love Inspiry on Instagram. You can also follow us on Facebook at Love Inspiry LLC. Don't forget to check out www.loveinspiry.com to book us for services, get some merch, whatever you have to do on there. You have a friend in us, and we are here to talk and help you navigate through your relationship. So guys, we'll see you all in the next one. Have a blessed day.
Wear your mask. Stay safe.